Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be our monthly ASIC pricing update video. This is going to be for September 2025. And in this series, what we do is we are looking for deals, right? We're going to go through the most popular ASIC miners, look for any price fluctuations, where the trends are they going up, are they going down? And this month, we did have a good amount of movement, specifically with the two that we're mainly looking at, which is Script and BTC ASICs. One of the big movers were the L7s. There is currently a fire sale going on. We'll go over those prices and as well as talk about few key differences we've found with BTC ASICs, specifically with that BitTier unit, the Sealminer A3. Looks like we do have potential pricing, and that's what's causing some of the others ASICs to also reprice. Okay, so we'll talk about it. We'll give our thoughts. If that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So we're going to take just a quick peek at the market currently, and currently the market is in a dump. We can even look at the fear and greed, and we're actually at the fear level, right? Which is pretty crazy because BTC is still right around under 110,000. We're at like 1094, and that's the current sentiment. Okay, we're only like 12% from all-time high, and we're in fear. Okay, same story with ETH. We're down about 15% from its previous high, and this is where we're at. It is pretty bananas how quickly the sentiment has changed, but things are still kind of holding up, right? Everything is still kind of on par. So far, we haven't had a massive dump. I'm still, I don't know if I want to say expecting or hoping for a bigger dump. We haven't really seen like a nice like 25-30% dump from BTC in a very long time. My expectation that is at some point potentially this month, maybe we're going to go under. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Looks like we kind of ran around 108 and has kind of refused to go below that. Okay, so that's kind of where the price trend is for me. Just a big fear level would be if we do go under 100, right? Realistic, would I be scared? No, but realistically, that would potentially cause a much bigger dip with a lot of these alts, right? So a lot of the small caps, yes, they're down at lows, but they're not super down from where they were, let's say, even 30 days ago, right? And a lot of the major alts, which again, that's where a lot of the focus is currently, they haven't gone down a ton, right? They have percentage-wise, but I mean, it's hard to be disappointed with even like a $200 SOL. To me, that's still pretty high up there, okay? So a lot of it's perspective, but again, just zooming out in the grand scheme of things, BTC is 109,000. We're only 12% away from all-time high, and we're at 34 fear and greed. Okay, so pretty remarkable, but overall, hopefully the uptrend starts in October. That's kind of everybody's expectation. That doesn't mean October 1st we're going to go up to the right. Maybe it's mid-October, maybe it's not to the end of October, maybe it's not till November, right? But at the end of the day, this is typically where things start kind of shifting quite a bit. Okay, so things are looking good in those departments. As we look at the overall mining profitability, not a whole lot of changes. The one glaring one, though, is obviously number one now. Okay, seems like we get these every once in a while. It's the new Gold Shell XT box. Tari does officially have an ASIC. This is the first ASIC, so that's why we're having this extreme profitability. But just like we mentioned in that video, just understand, extremely risky. So if you're going to look into it, make sure you heavily research. We'll talk about the price point here in a second, but as far as the profitability for the rest of the units go, it's the same deal, right? BTC and Script is on top. Everything else is pretty much still suffering, right? Not a whole lot of drastic changes there. As far as this little Gold Shell unit goes, I will say it is a slight improvement. I was expecting, because of this freaking profitability being at 50 bucks, which we all know isn't going to last very long once that first batch comes out, that they were going to be more greedy on the price like usual, right? My honest expectation, 4 to 5K. Okay, so the fact that it came in at 1865, that's an improvement. Okay, is it still pretty high up there? Honestly, yes. A ton of risk, especially if in a couple of days another manufacturer announces theirs and it's much more efficient. Again, we've been through this over and over and over, right? We kind of know what to expect here. The only benefit here is that it is a little more reasonably priced, right? Again, is it for me something that I'd be interested in? No, right? It's the market cap is way too tiny. There's going to be a ton of sell pressure, and it's not a coin I'm specifically into, right? So for me, it's not appealing. The point where it would be quite a bit more appealing, under 1K, right? If it hits that like $9.99 price point on that first batch, on this initial fresh batch, it would definitely be much more appealing, right? And it would kind of bring Gold Shell's reputation up a little bit. There would be more interest in there. And at that point, if you get wrecked, you get wrecked, right? At that point, you're down to $1,000 versus some of these previous boxes where there were 15K, 10K, 7,500, 5K. At this point, it's a little bit better, but it's definitely not there, right? Under $1,000, it's kind of a win-win, right? If it does not do too well, it's $1,000. If it does do well, then there's some profit to be made, and maybe you can finally make your ROI on one of these damn units, right? Which I don't think it's happened to this day yet, right? So kind of surprising, kind of a better thing, right? It's still not there, but definitely somewhat of an improvement. Obviously, a lot of it does have to do with the current sentiment in mining as a whole, right? Not even just ASIC mining, but just mining as a whole. It's pretty much all-time lows, right? In terms of interest, in terms of everything, and it's expected. Realistically, kind of is what the market needs, right? We do need a capitulation event here to force these manufacturers to really lower the price to price points that kind of make more sense based on the profitability you're going to get. Okay, so we'll see. Is it good for the market? Honestly, yes, right? Very shitty for views or for interest, anything like that. But realistically, we do need this to happen, and we do honestly need things to honestly even get a bit worse, right? These prices do need to come down. They need to be more reasonable. Okay, well, that's a whole nother topic. Let's stay focused here. So the first big one we're going to talk about are these damn L7s. Okay, so this isn't the first time they've done this. I want to say it was like the summer of 24 where they did something similar to this, where it was like an auction-based system where it was going to be the last batch of this specific model. Of course, it didn't end up being. They ended up making them most recently, this massive batch this past summer in June, right? They did a pre-order for like months and months and months for that June batch. And it does seem like now this is probably the last batch, right? So initially they did this little bidding event just to kind of get some attention. Turns out a lot of the vendors did get a big batch, right? So some of them don't have them listed yet. So if they don't, expect it to be listed here in a few days or reach out to them. Chances are they probably do have allocations. They may have just not updated. And it is significantly cheaper, right? So in the case for NHash, for example, again, their prices including shipping. We do have an affiliate link in the description if you're interested. But the lower end model, the 8050, is $1,750 shipped. Okay, and again, these are new units. These aren't used units. These aren't, 3-year-old units that have been beat up. These are brand new, right? So if you get more than mid tier, let's say the 9050, it's still under 2K. The 9300 is $2,200. Okay, so understand there is flexibility here. There is a lot of aftermarket firmware. Hyvon, Vanish, quite a few others do have aftermarket firmware where you are able to under and overclock. So that's why the different frequency or the different initial hash rates aren't too important, right? Obviously, the better units are the ones that been the best, which is the higher end units, but you do have that flexibility. And the L7s do have quite the reputation, right? They are workhorses. A lot of people have been running these things for this entire bear market since 2021, and they're still chugging along, right? So definitely a workhorse of a unit at these price points. Honestly, makes it pretty appealing, especially if you have cheap power. Obviously, that's going to be the big thing. If you're a person who has like 12, 14 kilowatt hour, it's not going to make any sense. This is a perk for people who want to host. They themselves have like 7 cents or under, and they're willing to take that risk, right? At this point, $1,700 is pretty freaking cheap. Okay, if we look at the calculator, just to kind of get an idea, the 9500 model, $645 a day. The lower end, they have the 8800 listed. It's $549 a day at a 8-cent kilowatt hour, and that's with Doge's current price being at like 22 cents. Okay, so not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, efficiency is a big thing. For me, that's what I kind of value more, but the price point does make it pretty damn appealing, right? So the other benefit here is that people who are trying to offload their units, chances are you may be able to get them even cheaper. For example, in used units, because obviously it's not going to make sense if people are trying to offload them now, they're trying to quit now, or they're trying to upgrade to the L9s or something more efficient, it's not going to make sense for them to try to sell them at 1700 when you can get a brand new one versus that older used beat up one, right? So that gives the potential for finding $1,200 deals, $1,000 deals, and at that point, again, if you have very cheap electric, can be worthwhile, right? So pretty interesting. So the dynamics here, though, are also potentially going to affect some of the others, right? Because a lot of the others still do have their older gens up for sale. Chances are they're going to have to lower because, again, this guy's just going to be more appealing because of the price point, right? So we'll go over some of those prices here in a second. So the majority of the video is going to focus on script and BTC. Those were the main jumpers, and that's also where the main interest is also. Okay, so we're going to go through quite a few. Another big update was with AlphaPex. They did actually sell out of their initial batch, right? So they're supposed to ship November, December. Now, if you order anything, it's not going to come until at the earliest February 2026. Okay, and that's if there's no delays. Okay, so potentially as late as March. So definitely a bummer. It is kind of weird though, because again, the price point doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense that a lot of retail or a lot of us would necessarily go for it versus at the time, those $5,000 L9s, which aren't $5,000 anymore, by the way. So chances are, in case you haven't caught a lot of their news events, again, they did have a partnership with Dogehash, which is a enterprise level miner, as well as most recently this cloud mining thing they're doing with KuCoin under their Q mining moniker. So chances are a lot of those sales probably purchased by those two entities. Okay, so kind of interesting. Just something to note there, though, for any guys who are interested, because they are still advertising this thing. But again, not until February 2026, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. And we did kind of confirm with some of the vendors, they do have that new date up there for any new orders now. So let's get on to the L9. And this is what did cause a big shift in a lot of the pricing. Okay, so obviously theirs already also increased, right? When we covered it last month, it was for the September batch. September batch is here. Now currently spot orders, the 15 gigahash, which is the lower end models, up to $6,300. Again, it was $1,300 cheaper last month, and that's just because things did get a little pump, right? So because there was slight increase, a lot more activity, a lot more bullishness, obviously the prices go up instantly, right? For them to go back down, it takes an extended period of time. And at this point, honestly, I think that $5,000 ship price point was probably the low for the remainder of this cycle, right? At least until we potentially peak some time and go lower, whether or not to the next 2 to 3 months or whether it's 9 months out. I know a lot of people are talking now even Q2 now, 2026 being the top. So all over the place there. So just kind of keep that in mind. But the 16 gigahash model, for example, is $6,500. 17 at $7,300. Okay, and like we mentioned in the other video, as soon as there's any kind of pump, expect the price to go up. So just because it's at that price point, probably wasn't going to go lower. It's probably going to go up from there, especially as soon as we start seeing some bullishness in the market, which we did see. Okay, and we can kind of confirm it even with the other vendors. So Miner Bros, which again I'm not a big fan of, but we just use them for price comparison purposes because they are probably the most notable competitor for the big vendors, right? So their 15 gigahash unit is $6,600, not including shipping, right? So they don't include the shipping in the price anymore. The 16 gigahash unit is $69.99. The 17 gigahash unit is $7,700. Okay, so again, got to remember to add those other portions. So it is quite a big uptick. Okay, so where it goes from here, it's kind of like looking at other resellers. It's kind of been going up and down just along with Doge's price, just because we recently had this dump. Okay, so it's going to be dependent on how long this dump goes. If it goes down, though, you can maybe see the 15 gigahash unit going down to $59.99, right? I wouldn't be surprised there. It would be hard to see it go under that unless we continue to dump, right? If we do get that dump, like we mentioned, where we go down to 99, and it does hold, right? Not just a quick wick. Again, for these prices to go lower, it needs to sustain, and the sentiment kind of needs to be there. Again, if it's just a quick flash crash down to 99 and then 12 hours later we're back up to 107, don't expect to see any price differences. Okay. Um, so again, it's one of those things when risk to reward, you have to look at the market, you have to look at pricing and see if it makes sense at that point, right? It's just like buying the coins at those lows, right? It's hard to tell if that's going to be the low, if it's going to go lower. You just have to look at risk to reward and see if it's worthwhile or not. Okay. Let's go to some of these other prices. Some of the other prices did also dip, not a whole lot, right? So honestly, not enough either. So the Volkminer D1, for example, the October batch, it is down to $56.99, right? So it is a price that makes a tad bit more sense, even more so now with the L9 little price increase. Again, the L9 being at 5K, it made no sense to go with this guy. Now that the smaller unit is at 6,200, this price point makes sense that it's lower. It's about 10% lower to me, though, for the risk and considering the quality of them, it needs to be significantly lower for me to consider, right? So up to you at that point, but I don't necessarily see them as being a higher tier. I would have more confidence, for example, in the AlphaPex unit versus this guy. Okay, so for me, to be a deal, maybe $39.99. Honestly, even then for me, though, I just value reliability, durability so much. I personally haven't heard great things about them, at least for the bigger units. The smaller unit, though, a lot of people have had this guy, have had no issues. Again, it's also typically in a much better climate. Typically, people are running these things indoors, so you have filtered air. You don't have necessarily the extreme heat to deal with, especially in the location that it's in, as well as dirt, all that good stuff. Typically, there's just a lot less stress on these little home miners, right? Just because of the environment that they're in. So this guy went down a tad bit. This price makes more sense. It's much more appealing now that it's under 1K. It's down to $9.99. The AlphaPex DG Home 1 is also in the same price range. But for $9.99, you are getting a bit more efficiency here. And so far now, it's definitely been more proven, right? Initially, when it first released, kind of sketch, I was definitely more along the AlphaPex unit just because that unit has been solid. So far, though, it seems like this guy's proving itself. It is more efficient and not a bad price, right? Will it go lower from here? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. I mean, the main deal breaker would be if the AlphaPex would announce their DG Home 2. But the fact that the larger units got delayed, honestly, it's probably going to be quite a while for that thing, for any guys who are waiting for that thing. Let's go down the list. So the L1 Pro also did go down a tad bit. Initially, we thought it was probably because of the L9 price change, but realistically, it's most likely because of the announcement of the L3, right? So there is going to be a newer, more efficient, more powerful flue miner, the L3, but again, it's not going to be here until January 2026, right? So timing is not very appealing at all. This guy is also about half the price of what that unit's going to be also, right? So far, it seems like this guy's doing well. Would like to see more updates with them. Hopefully, again, it does hold up, though, because the specs of their home units have been extremely impressive. To me, that's going to be much more appealing for this coming bear market, right? If we have home units that are as efficient as the big boy units at a fraction of the price and a fraction of the wattage, right? Again, it's a lot easier to pay 1,400 watts out of pocket versus, let's say, like 4,000 watts out of one of those AlphaPex units, right? Especially because they have not only a script ASIC, but they have that BTC ASIC coming out, supposedly start shipping this coming month. Okay, so definitely want to follow them and just continue to see if they are quality, because again, their efficiency on freaking point for being home miners. Okay. Let's go on to the next one, and this is what we're talking about, where the price point with this little price reduction with these L7s may affect some of these. The DG1 Lite, which is essentially just the OG DG1, it's down to $36.49. Not a bad price. Was honestly pretty good, at least until that L7 price reduction. Because at this point, you can get two of those freaking L7s for the price of this guy, right? So this guy is obviously more efficient. But, I mean, if you're already getting a not very efficient unit, the L7 is probably going to be quite a bit more appealing, right? So that may force this guy to go under 3K, down to $29.99. Even at that point, still kind of a toss-up, but just understand that they may affect the price. But so far, I mean, realistically, though, they have been kind of stubborn. They haven't really dropped much. Even the DG1 Plus, it's down to $43.99. Realistically, honestly, should probably be a tad bit lower, but now it does make a little bit more sense with the L9 going up in price. Again, with the L9 being at 5K, this price points made no sense. Now, kinda, honestly, the L9 would probably be still more appealing. But again, if you're interested, like we mentioned, last month was the time to buy it. Who knows where we go from here, though, right? Let's continue down. So this is where it gets interesting. So quite a few updates. We'll switch over to BTC now. So the S21 XP is now under 5K, right? And looks like reason being is it looks like we have price on that Sealminer A3 now. Okay, so most likely that's why it's down at this point. We do know that Sealminer, if it releases this year, if it actually ships this year, will be the more efficient unit. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be at the same price point, which is honestly probably the reason for Bitmain's price reduction here. It is at 5K. Another option here, I do have an affiliate link with them also, just because with Altair Tech, the advantage is that they have units here in the US. Okay, so if you're kind of worrisome of all the tariff things, like I am personally, the price difference is a little bit more. Sometimes the price difference is pretty heavy, right? There's been points when we're comparing the prices, and that's like 20-25% higher, right? At that point, you're kind of stretching it a bit, but when it's down to only about a 10% difference in price, I would just personally go with Altair, right? So for example, even with this unit, the S21XP, they have these in stock in their St. Louis location, so you 100% do not have to worry about any tariffs at all. You're getting shipped from St. Louis to you, and they ship fast as hell, right? They are one of my favorite vendors for those reasons. Highly, highly recommended, especially for parts. Okay, like if you have a PSU that goes out, cable that goes out, you need spoofers, whatever, they're definitely the go-to spot. They ship sometimes same day. Like sometimes I'll have the part in like 2-3 days, right? So extremely recommended. Again, we do have an affiliate link as well as a coupon code with them for those that are interested, but they have the X21 XP at 56. And this is another part that's interesting, right? It seemed like they weren't going to release the A2 Pro at all, but now there are listings for a November batch, right? And this is where it gets a little bit concerning because the A3 was supposed to start shipping in October. So the fact that this guy's not even shipping till November, we're going to have to wait to see till we get a confirmation of when that A3 is actually going to ship, right? Is it actually going to meet in October, or is it going to go after this unit sometime in December? Okay, there's that possibility because we haven't got official word yet, but some of them have started listing prices, and there is a consensus there, and it does seem like it probably will be the price. Okay, but the A2 Pro, 255, 3800 watts, $3,900. Not bad at all. The big thing to consider here is, again, for the A3, there's the regular A3 and the A3 Pro. The A3, the regular model, is very similar to the A2 Pro. The A2 Pro, I think, is like 14.85 joules a terahash versus the A3 is 14. Okay, so very minimal difference. So if you were looking for that unit, honestly, the A2 Pro may be the way to go, but we're going to have to wait to see when the A3 actually ships and the price of it. Okay, so this guy's $38.99. Altair has it at $42.49. Again, to not deal with all the tariff shenanigans, that's where I'd go. The only downfall with Altair is they only do BTC ASICs. They do not mess with any shit coins. That would be so nice if one day they at least did script ASICs maybe, but no, this right now specifically they are Bitcoin only, so that's the reason they're only going to have those. So this is where it gets juicy. So the A3 Pro, they have it listed, again, undetermined when it's going to ship, etc., at $5,100. Okay, so again, it's cheaper. Like their price is going to be cheaper than the S21 XP, even comparing Nhash's price of the XP, of the S21 XP. This guy's right on par, and this guy is more efficient. It's 12.5 joules a terahash versus the 13.5 over there. Okay, so appealing there. It'd be nice if they went another 10% lower just to really like go under Bitmain. But again, I think that's why Bitmain did reduce their price on it. It's because of this unit. Okay, so that's the beauty with competition, is that it forces that competitiveness with the pricing. And the fact that this guy is more efficient, something to kind of ponder, right? The reason we're saying there's consensus is because Miner Bros also does have a temporary price for the A3 Pro right in that area also, right? They have it listed at $48.99, the A3 Air at $42.99. Okay, so that does kind of line up, so it does seem like that's probably going to be the price point. We haven't gotten official news yet. It should be coming out probably within the next few days, if not weeks. Okay, as far as official shipping window and official MSRP price, that way we can kind of see what's going on. And that way Bitmain will also adjust accordingly. Okay, because if they do come in a little bit more aggressive, they come in at 45, then expect a price cut from the S21XP. Because again, the bid tier unit, the Sealminer unit, is more efficient. Okay, and again, with BTC's competitiveness, efficiency is everything, right? You need to be the most efficient unit. You need to have the cheapest electric rate also. Okay, but it does seem like that's going to be around the price point. Again, for the A3 Air, it's very similar to the A2 Pro. So the fact that the difference is so minimal, you're going to go with whatever price is better, right? So again, that was our initial thought why they probably weren't going to release the A2 Pro and just go straight to the A3, because it's literally right on par, right? So we'll see what happens there. But those were the main price deviations. The one thing I'm looking for is that Sealminer, the BTC unit, if it actually does ship this coming month, like they said they were. The other one we're kind of waiting for, if you guys remember, iceriver did also announce a script ASIC as well as the BTC ASIC for Q3, Q4. So far, we haven't heard a damn thing, and the fact that they're taking this long isn't boding too well, right? These guys are announcing extremely efficient units, both from Sealminer, from Sealminer. So kind of weird there, and it's kind of gonna be to their detriment if they don't announce anything, right? And especially if they do announce something, it's not up to par with the competition. It's not gonna be a good look, right? Unless that price is ridiculous, right? Well, we'll wait and see there. If it happens, again, it's extremely weird that nothing's been announced there. But those have been the trends, guys. Right now, BTC ASICs, because of this new release here, have been trending down. Script ASICs, again, if Doge starts to pump, expect that price volatility, right? We've seen it before. We've seen how fast that switch can flip. Again, just a reminder, last November, December, those same freaking L9s were going for 17K. So understand that if the price goes crazy, the prices of the units will also go crazy. More specifically with script or altcoin ASICs, you will maybe see an uptick with BTC. It's just, again, it's so much more competitive. It takes a lot of significant price appreciation to really have a major effect on the overall profitability, just because, again, there's so many freaking units and just so many units going online every couple of weeks, right? We've been seeing these big farm announcements that this other section of their farm went live, and they have an expectation in the next 3 months they're going to have all these going live. So just understand that with BTC, it's not something that's going to make you rich off of like 1 or 2 units. It's more just like an alternative way with DCA with benefits, essentially. Okay. But let me know in the comments, guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of these script ASIC prices? Do you think that the 5K was the low? Do you think we're going to go lower? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'm out.